Okay, guys, let's talk about something that a lot of business owners do not want to admit, but your business is not stuck because you need more strategy. You're stuck because everything feels too complicated to execute consistently. At least that's what I am hearing all the time. Too many tools, too many ideas, too many things that were getting started and not actually fully working, especially in this time of AI. And at some point, growth just starts to feel harder than it actually should. So today we're going to talk about something that's very important. So for anybody that is coming to the Scale with Stability event that we have coming up in a few weeks, stay tuned because you want to learn more about this session. It might be the session that's going to create that ROI in your business. And if you haven't bought your ticket yet, then you definitely want to do so. We're actually starting the event April 22nd to the 24th, and I cannot believe it's a few days away. But today we're going to be talking about how to strip all of that back, all the things that I just mentioned, and focus on the few things that actually drive results, and how to use actually AI and systems to make some of those things a lot easier and not heavier as we're feeling. Because at Scale with Stability, we don't believe in building just bigger businesses at the cost of your life. We believe in building better businesses grounded in system stewardship and leadership, so you can actually grow without sacrificing your faith, your family, your health, or your peace. And this conversation is going to give you a little insight into what we're going to be touching upon it at the event. And it's going to give you a really practical lens on how to do that. And today I'm joined by Haplin Milgrom-Hills. How are you doing, Haplin?
I'm doing well. Super excited. Thanks for having me on, Karen.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you and to represent High Level, which is, you guys have been with us, I think, in every single event we have done because it's
Wow.
just the best tool that we have found that we use constantly. And I'm excited for all the business owners that are attending to get to learn more on how to implement that. But before we go into what you're going to be touching upon, the session that we're going to have, the breakout session, I would love to hear a little bit more of your background, Haplin, because you were a 7-figure agency owner, and now you're a product market leader at High Level. Am I correct with that?
Almost. I didn't own that agency. I was like a very it was embedded in the operations of that agency. It's with a man named Rob Bailey. I'm not sure if folks would
Oh,
be
yes.
familiar on the call, but yeah, you are super embedded in the high level community. You're an award winner yourself, so I'm super excited to be here. My history, my background is that I was selling gym memberships at a health club in San Diego in 2017. 2016, 2017, when I got the opportunity to leave that job and join a digital marketing agency where we ran Facebook ads for gyms. And we did really well with that, started consulting with other businesses on how to implement some of our trade secrets, the stuff that we had developed from our time in that industry. And what it boiled down to, those secrets essentially were these marketing strategies that I'm actually going to share at the talk at Scale Stability. Happy to talk about some of that today as well. But what it really boiled down to was good lead nurturing strategy and good marketing fundamentals that ended up being the backbone of High Level. So I've been involved with High Level since 2018, since they first got started. I was trying to do high level related things, get high level related outcomes since before High Level existed. And I was copying and pasting different tools together using Scipio and Zapier and ClickFunnels and Google Sheets and all the different tools. And then when High Level came out as just like bliss for the agency, I've been coaching businesses on tech implementation and specifically lead nurturing optimization and lead nurturing strategy since 2017,
Wow.
and building all of that around High Level since it first launched in 2019.
This is like really OGs, just like going back in time, right? Like I love it. I love it because you like literally went from, which happened to all of us, right? We were just like patching things together, kind of like putting pieces together of like this like huge funnel. And now we get to do a lot, if not everything inside of High Level, which is to me, like it's crazy how in only what, 8 years? I mean, like, or less, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that, like 8 years, like things have been changing dramatically, especially in the last few years. Now, your session, Haplin, is called AI Powered Flywheel, 5 winning things that businesses are doing, or 5 things that winning businesses are doing differently. And I'm excited to talk about this because, it really is, I think, it starts with a mindset, of course, right? Like how do we create things that are going to outlast us, and that's part of like how do we create businesses that are going to be scalable, that at some point we can exit. I think like Rob Bailey, especially, if you work with him, he's like very big on that, right? How do we get businesses to grow in a scalable way? But I would love to learn, when you're saying winning businesses, um, what are some of the right things that winning businesses are doing today, and what does that actually mean? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the talk that I'm going to be giving is kind of just helping us. It starts with identifying winning businesses. What do we talk about when we mean winning businesses versus average businesses? As we all know, especially in the U.S., but definitely around the world, being a small business entrepreneur is very difficult, and a lot of them go under, or they just peter along, and it becomes very hard to become wildly successful. This is a super competitive environment. There's stats about however many out of 10 small businesses fail within the first 3 years. But so anyways, what we are doing at high level, at least in our community, so we have a very high level perspective. Obviously, we've got so many different accounts and all these millions of messages being sent every day. All these different businesses are growing on high level, and we see we take a good look at what makes a winning business. Like, how do we even define that, first of all? And I think that there's, especially in this digital age of very surface level image focus maintenance and concerns like that, there's a tendency to want to focus on top line revenue. We like to focus in terms of just our mindset, right? How do we think about success in business in terms of margin? Because we'd rather have a smaller business with super high margins that creates the freedom that we want, that creates the flexibility without all of the headaches that comes with growth, rather than have some big juggernaut that's doing a lot in top line but then has so much overhead and all the staff and all this. So we're to the point where you're not actually taking home that much money at the end of the day. It might look nice on the balance sheet, or it might look nice to be able to say I've got this amount of this figure agency or that figure business, but at the end of the day, it's really about the margin. And even having a smaller business with less headaches, with more freedom, and a higher margin that you actually end up taking home is what we see giving people the type of life and the type of work and the type of fulfillment that they're really looking for in this industry. And so that's what high level is focused on. And that's what my talk is focused on, trying to help businesses who show up look more like that.
I love that you're saying all this, because it completely aligns with what we're trying to achieve. I totally relate with, especially in the digital marketing space, we have seen that a lot, right? Like the focus on like revenue and how do we get to whatever figure we're trying to shoot. And then what I've found, even ourselves in this journey, realizing is like, once you hit those numbers, if you don't have anything to support that, right? If you don't have a solid foundation in your life, at the end of the day, it's like, for the sake of what did I did that, right? Like, what was the end result of all of that? So I love that you're coming from that angle. And now, like when we started using High Level, I think it was mainly specifically for digital marketing agencies. Now you guys have expanded, and a lot of businesses owners today are leveraging High Level as an opportunity to get their systems right, to get their automations, to not have to hire too many people. And especially now with the AI aspect that you guys are building into it, I'm curious on how AI has come into play into this flywheel that you guys are building, right? Because initially it has always been about like nurturing, capturing, making sure that you're able to provide, like just value to the customers, and then obviously turning them to actual clients. Talk to me about the flywheel. What are you guys talking about a flywheel? What do you mean? And then also, how does AI come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole position of the talk, the great thesis statement, if you will, of the talk that I'm going to give is that there are 5 things that winning businesses are doing differently. And I'm going to go over those things, not right now necessarily in depth. I'll save it for I could talk your head off about it because I feel very passionate about it. But you mentioned earlier that, oftentimes businesses don't necessarily need more ideas, more tools, more strategy. It can be overwhelming, and you can get into this analysis paralysis type of mode. And so what I'm first going to do in the talk is really simplify these 5 things in a more conceptual approach, just as ideas. And I do want to clarify, I'll say this in the talk as well, but the idea of this talk that I'm giving is actually not necessarily to just try to shove high level down people's throats, or to say you have to be using high level in order to get anything from this. We see what's working in the high level community and in the online entrepreneurial community in terms of good marketing ideas. And so the idea behind the talk is to really simplify and distill those ideas into a very simple system with these 5 things. They are capture, nurture, close, evangelize, and reactivate. And so we're going to go through those steps because we need that to be as simple as possible. We need marketing in 2026 to be really, really, I mean, dead simple. Like, you could be summa cum laude graduate, you can be really smart or whatever, that's fine. But the second you have a business that you're running, I'm telling you, you need your marketing to be dead simple. Your overall strategy or approach, the way that you use these high level or other tools to grow your business, needs to be, conceptually speaking, incredibly simple, focused, direct, and effective, because that's what it takes to be able to really get the most out of leveraging automation and AI. If you have a really complicated, rat's nest of a marketing system, it's hard to have AI run that for you. Maybe someday there'll be AI so sophisticated that it can simplify it and do part of that for us. I'm sure we're headed in that direction. But right now, the businesses that are winning and implementing AI and seeing success with AI, they are like using AI to implement really direct, straightforward, simple things in their business, using multiple employees to do like 1 to 3 really straightforward tasks. So step 1 is to conceptualize what those tasks are, what we're trying to do in the business, what activities we're trying to automate. And then step 2 is to learn how to use AI to automate those things.
Something that you mentioned there that I think is going to be important for everybody that's attending not only your session, but just like the event in general, is that opportunity that you guys are giving to, like, it doesn't matter where you're at in the business, like anybody can take advantage of the session, anybody can take advantage of high level, and you can do it to build a business that you actually enjoy running, which is, I think it's key for any of the business owners that are attending. How many business owners do you like run into that are like overwhelmed, that are burning out, they don't know what to do, they feel like they need to hire somebody, and the thing that they want to do in terms of hiring is just like delegating, not delegating to grow that person necessarily, is to delegate to like take this like load off their shoulders and put in somebody else's, pretty much. And I think the opportunity that we have with this like presentation that you're going to have is how you're opening people's mind to rethink about how they're building their business in a different way, especially with all the tools that are coming up. Like, simplicity really is going to help them take it to the next level. Now, as you have been like talking about and leveraging, tools like high level, I can tell that you're probably like trying to think like very strategically on how to implement it, right? And how to make the most out of it. You're also running into business owners that are not necessarily there, right? Like, they're like in the complete opposite side of that spectrum. How is applying this flywheel, how's it different than how most business owners are currently operating today?
Yeah, man. Well, I think, there's a couple different directions I could go with that. But in terms of, like there's some of it that's just foundational education that comes from experience that a lot of business owners just don't have. And I think particularly, I'll tease a little bit on the nurture piece. I mentioned capture, nurture, close, evangelize, reactivate. For me, when I interact with businesses at events, workshops, conventions, etc., oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, nurture is really the secret sauce step that a lot of them are missing, and a lot of them don't even know it. And I certainly didn't know it before we discovered this with data and in our sales departments, et cetera, in the digital marketing agency that I was a part of before. But it's one of those light bulb moments for me in my career that brings me a lot of satisfaction to help others turn on, because it just seems to be such a missing piece still. the ability to at scale and with leverage follow up with leads in a congruent, respectful but persistent way is just kind of like it's like there's a lot of different factors that go into it, and there's a couple little like secret moments where once you unlock it and once you understand the importance of it and the results that come from it, it unlocks another level of your ability to do other things as well. And so what I'm thinking about here is really the tendency and the positioning of our industry, digital marketing as an industry, and the whole agency model is so often predicated around these higher ticket, top of funnel activities. Like we have social media managers, and we have SEO specialists, and we have website builders, and we have a branding and design, and all of these things just related to kind of visibility and brand awareness and trying to get people to land on a website and whatever. And that's fine, and that's great, and that's important. Advertising, huge, is another one, just trying to get people to see you on social media, promoted posts, whatever it is. We have whole businesses dedicated to doing all that stuff, and it is good. Those are important activities, but all of that is like, where am I on the screen? That's like all of those models, all of those businesses I just described are like this amount of this much that it takes in order to get revenue in the business. Because once you get that awareness, then there's the rest of the steps of the pipeline, actually capturing that lead, following up with that lead, getting that lead engaged into some kind of a conversation that's meaningful and helps build trust and move them down the pipeline. And then, just shepherding them the rest of the way down the funnel and or sales process. And there have been a couple different attempts to kind of optimize these other steps, but certainly there's still so much opportunity, especially for newer agencies or agencies that have a great handle on doing these top of funnel activities, to bolt on really simple systems, really simple additional services that help businesses get the most out of the future steps in the sales process. So now, instead of generating 100 leads or getting 100 page visits and that turning into one sale, like this crazy numbers game that a lot of agencies are playing, we're seeing folks using high level and or just implementing the flywheel to be able to take those 100 leads or those 100 visitors, squeeze so much more juice from that lemon by just stewarding those leads more responsibly and not letting them slip through the cracks so much. Stuff like AI chat widgets on a website, proper forms on a website, inbound voice AI so that you're not missing calls, just the really simple low-hanging fruit ways to have more of those leads actually get engaged into the sales process, make it closer and closer to the end, more efficient conversion at each step, plugging all the leaks in the leaky bucket and making sure that those leads actually convert at optimized rates in order to become sales. That is like the huge differentiator in agencies in 2026. And it's literally changing the model for agencies as we speak. So where it's not just about those top of funnel activities, it's about how are you actually delivering revenue to your client's business or to your own business if you're the marketing department of a business using high level for itself. So yeah, that was a mouthful. I'm sorry, I kind of got into it there. But
no, you went into it. I love it. I read this book and I forget the title right now, but it was on the concept of like, you already know everybody that you need to know in your life as a business owner. Like you already know everybody that you need to know in order to generate the amount of revenue, the amount of success that you want for your business. And I think we often forget that. We overcomplicate it, I think, as you were mentioning, right? We're constantly in this like rat race trying to like figure out how to do this and like what's the next offer, and trying to get new people to learn about us. And although that's obviously important, to continue to get new customers, like we forget about the customers that we already had, the people that already listened to our message and bought in, the people that already maybe even bought, like your services, your products at some point, and maybe there's a reassessment, maybe you have gone through changes of people that just like trusted you, and liked you for who you are as a business owner. And we forget that big, part. And instead, it's kind of like in the sales cycle when people are just like reaching out once, twice, maybe three times at most. My background working with business owners, I used to be part of like this implementation team for ACRM before I found out what high level was, and then I like completely changed, my mind. But I remember like just touch points, even the sales process is like one, two, maybe three, when like in reality, in order for you to like really convert somebody into a customer, you need to have like a minimum of 11, 12 touch points of different type of activities. And we just sort of like give up, we give up in the sales side, we give up, whenever a customer comes in, and like we just provide the service and then that's it. There's no nurturing. And I love that you're coming to talk about that, because most of the businesses, I guarantee you, coming into that room definitely have an opportunity to build better relationships with the current customers that they have and develop them even further. Now, talking a little bit about AI, I want to make sure that we touch upon that, because obviously anytime that we talk about automation, efficiencies, anything like that, AI is it's a huge thing. And I know that high level is like on the top of the game, with anything regarding AI. You're trying to implement it as much as possible to make the tool as intuitive as possible as well. What are some of the things that maybe you're going to be touching upon that people can expect from this session when it comes to AI?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, we're all inundated now with AI, and the topic of every talk is AI. And the thing that I want to hammer home to folks, and what I've seen more and more as I've continued to meet more business owners, do more of these types of events, is that there is a lot of AI adoption happening right now, but it's typically in the form of just like talking to ChatGPT behind the scenes. And so I'm sure a lot of people watching this right now, a lot of people that talk, if I asked, show of hands, who here is using AI in their business, it's like, yeah, everybody's hand goes up. But it's sort of in the same way that like I use AI to help me with a recipe for dinner. It's just kind of like, bouncing an idea off of them. But AI is for businesses that actually need important activities done. And the cream of the crop, the highest risk, high reward tier of AI implementation is, of course, customer facing roles, right? That is really like the next step that if I ask, show of hands in the room, who here is implementing AI into customer facing roles in their business, that's when all the hands go down, right? There's a lot of businesses that know how to ask ChatGPT for a good marketing idea to put in their social post that day, but not a lot who are at the point where they're ready to empower and trust AI to manage customer journeys for them, right? But you just spoke about this, where back in your sales days, there's like 1, 2, or 3 touch points for a lead, and then they fall off. And even with 3, that's, for a lot of businesses, that's pretty impressive. Think about if you're just like a sales rep and you're just doing things manually, or you're using the old iPhone to try to follow up with leads. Think of how many leads you can really manage to even follow up 3 times, to give them 3 calls or 3 texts or 3 emails, or God forbid, 3 of each. You can't even manage more than like 10 leads, maybe 15 leads, before you're like doing nothing but dialing and typing all day long, right? Yeah. But the businesses that are winning businesses, right? High profit margins, getting a lot more conversions, a lot more activity, and a lot more awareness and trust and momentum built in their businesses. They have lists of thousands of leads that they've generated in the past. Like you're talking about, people who already know them, trust them. And certainly when you get into that size of numbers, there's all shapes and sizes of different types of leads that you have, of all different qualities. And a lot of businesses think their old database is just filled with dead leads, cold leads. That we have found that to not be true. That when you take an old dead list of leads and reactivate them, which you'll notice that's one of the steps in the flywheel I was talking about: capture, nurture, close, evangelize, and reactivate. We'll be talking about this. To be able to, with a click of a button, or a couple clicks of a button, follow up with all of your leads at any scale, get unlimited leverage out of that, to be able to send a conversational message to reawaken those leads, continue nurture them. now you understand that it's not just about hustling harder or grinding harder. In fact, the winning businesses have it easier than ever because it doesn't matter how many leads they generate. They can go invest in those top of funnel marketing activities. They can go pour money into ads and redo their website. They can afford to do all these fancy services because they know that they are never going to let go of a lead. Once they generate a lead, they are going to continue following up until that lead either moves forward or they opt out. And some leads do opt out. They say, hey, stop bothering me. And we have all sorts of, like, all the compliance, the regulatory guidelines and the bumpers on the lane, if you will. All of that is baked in. So we know how to take care of those people. But it allows us to really know for sure that we are not going to ever let a lead slip through the cracks ever again. And so now, instead of hustling around to manage 10 or 20 leads at a time, we can go generate leads really aggressively, really confidently, follow up with all of them omnipresently, omnichannel. Yeah, that's the word, right? and that's where AI comes in, because we can't. Sure, anybody can send a blast, but then what happens when 200 out of those 1,000 leads respond, and half of them want to move forward, right? Now it's like, oh, we've got a really good problem on our hands. We've got too much sales activity, too many people raising their hands to buy, and so AI helps us catch those messages. So we're going to be talking about putting AI into, yes, customer-facing roles or sales-oriented roles, helping manage those leads at scale, just to help them take that next step down the sales journey. And that, again, is why it is so important that we have that sales journey mapped out and that it's simple, that it's very, very simple. So that way AI can be very effective and really help people move forward. So that's what I'm excited to talk more about, is how to actually get AI to do that kind of stuff that actually adds money into the business, adds revenue, helps you make more sales. Yeah.
Perfect. Less about, like just what's happening right now and more on how can we apply that to actually get that leverage, in our business and just increase. For anybody that's watching, High Level, it's not only a tool that we obviously talk about all the time, it's a tool that we use all the time. Literally, from like my tabs that are always open, the High Level CRM is definitely one of them. And it's the tool that we advise everybody that's working with us in our digital marketing agency to work with, and anybody. So I'm really excited. Thank you, Haplin, for bringing this into the event. Thank you for being the voice that's going to be sharing about High Level at the event, because I know that you mentioned like this Flywheel is something that anybody can implement. I'm recommending you guys, you have to implement it with High Level. It's the best tool that we have found, honestly. And we'll talk more about that during the event, but I'm really excited that you guys as attendees and everybody in the community is going to be able to have the time to ask questions, to be in the room, to showcase, how like my problem can be solved by this. And like just that interaction and just doing it in person is something that I think has it's just priceless, right? To be able to solve real problems in real time. And that's exactly what Skill Stability is all about. So thank you, Haplin. Thank you for everybody that's going to come from the High Level team to the event. I think it's going to be super fun and we cannot wait to see everybody. So you guys, if you haven't bought your ticket, just reminder, we're down to the last week's skillwithstability.com/summit. Make sure to get your access and we'll see you guys pretty soon. Thank you so much.